Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. 401 days left the Russian invasion of Ukraine. Yesterday, Ukraine marked the first anniversary of the liberation of the city of Bucha in the Kyiv region and discoveries of mass shootings and other atrocities committed by the Russians during occupation. During the remembrance ceremony dedicated to the victims, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said that Bucha has become a place where the world changed and woke up. He stressed that the world will not let you forget about Bucha, as human decency will not allow it. According to Zelensky, the Ukrainians stopped the most anti-human force of our time. Russia kills, tortures, it seeks to destroy the dignity of people so that a person means zero. Russian evil will fall and will not be able to rise, he stressed. The president also presented the mayor of Bucha with the badge of the honorary title Hero City. The ceremony was also attended by Moldovan President Maia Sandu, Prime Ministers of Slovakia Eduard Heger, Slovenia Robert Golob, and Croatia Andrej Plenković. Volodymyr Zelensky informed in his evening video address that the second United for Justice conference took place in Bucha and Kyiv. The participants discussed ways to bring to justice those who are responsible for crimes committed in Ukraine. According to the president, representatives of almost 50 countries took part in the event. He stressed that there will be a new Nuremberg trial, just like the one that was against the Nazis, but this time it will be against the Russists. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said that he can imagine Russia at the negotiating table to confirm the end of the war only if Russian troops voluntarily withdraw from the territory of Ukraine, reports Ukrainska Pravda. He said that if Russia withdraws its forces from Ukraine, then it may join other countries at a table for diplomatic negotiations. And if we kick them all out by force, then there is nothing to talk about with such people in general, because we will lose people, there will be many victims. What can we discuss about with these people in general? They should be isolated, stressed Zelensky. The president also commented on Russia's plans to deploy nuclear weapons to Belarus, saying that it means that Minsk has lost all independence. We would really appreciate if you could recommend us to your friends and family, as well as share information on social media. This way more people would learn about the podcast and truth about Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Volodymyr Zelensky believes that the leader of China, Xi Jinping, is one of those still hesitating to support Ukraine, reports Deutsche Welle. According to Zelensky, Ukraine is doing everything to involve the maximum number of states in the victory in the war. He added that Ukraine has sent signals to such hesitant states and is ready to meet, discuss, talk, and together defeat the aggression of the Russian Federation. Now Ukraine is waiting for the answers. At the same time, France believes that China can be one of the few countries that can change the rules of the game in the context of the war in Ukraine, reports European Pravda. According to a CNN source, in the administration of the French President Emmanuel Macron's upcoming visit to China would be a crucial opportunity for France and China to reconnect at the highest level. Macron's planned meetings are aimed at finding a space so that we can try initiatives that are good for the Ukrainian people and then find a way to identify solutions to end this war in the medium term, said the media source. The chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, believes that Ukraine's victory in the war against Russia this year is unlikely, although he did not say that it cannot be done, reports Ukrainska Pravda. He reminded that President Volodymyr Zelensky announced Ukraine's goal is to expel all Russians from the occupied territories. The general stressed that this is a very, very difficult military task. When asked about the provision of long-range ATACMS missiles to Ukraine, Milley replied that the US would not supply them. But at the same time, other possibilities of assistance to the armed forces are being considered, for example, unmanned aerial vehicles with similar capabilities. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund granted Ukraine's request to open a new 4-year extended fund facility program for a total of $15.6 billion, reports Censor. According to the IMF, first Ukraine can receive up to $2.7 billion. This is the largest program approved for Ukraine and the first one for the country in a state of active war. It is expected that this decision will open access for Ukraine to other sources of credit funding. Ukraine received about $1.8 billion concessional loan from Canada on Friday, reports Interfax Ukraine. According to the Finance Ministry of Ukraine, the funds will be directed primarily to financing priority expenditures of the state budget. The ministry said that the repayment period of this loan is 10 years. The interest rate is 1.5% per annum. As reported, the external financing needs of Ukraine's state budget in 2023 are about $38 billion, and after a recent increase in spending, they are already estimated at $42.5 billion. The ministry informed that since the beginning of this year, as of March 29th, funding from international partners has already reached $9.17 billion compared with $32.14 billion last year. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine decided that Ukrainian athletes will boycott the 2024 Olympics tournaments and other competitions in which representatives of Russia and Belarus are taking part, reports Дзеркало Тижня. This decision was a response to the new rules of the International Olympic Committee, which allow Russian and Belarusian athletes to participate with a neutral status for individual competitions. At the same time, some of the top Ukrainian athletes previously spoke against this policy and called to still take part in such tournaments to give them an opportunity to win and show the Ukrainian flag, reports TSN-UA. The organizers of Wimbledon, one of the most important tennis tournaments in the world, have lifted the ban on the participation of Russian and Belarusian tennis players, reports Suspilne. They explained that last year's ban led to significant penalties being imposed on Wimbledon by international tennis organizations. This year, Russian and Belarusian players and support staff who wish to take part in the tournament will be required to sign neutrality declarations. In addition to neutrality, Wimbledon organizers will require Russian and Belarusian tennis players not to receive funding from their countries, and also promise to apply a zero-tolerance approach to any flags, symbols or other actions that support Russia, Belarus or their invasion of Ukraine. The organizers emphasized that their position on supporting Ukraine remains unchanged in 2023. They said the decision to suspend players from the Russian Federation and Belarus in 2022 had been the right course of action. In response, Ukrainian Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba called on the British government to deny visas to participants from Russia and Belarus, reports ICTV. The Highlights from Ukraine podcast is a non-commercial initiative of just two people, and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.